Good morning, everybody. Good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be. Welcome to the Metaverse Nomad podcast, where we discuss the play to earn games that we're currently involved in. Our focus lately is 100% Star Atlas, the largest and most ambitious AAA play to earn game in the space. At its core, Star Atlas is a space based metaverse that will challenge its players to team up, organize, and fight their way into unknown territories. Joining me today are my fellow Metaverse Nomads. We've got Jesse, Fancy, Ray, and Ultra. How you guys doing today?
Fantastic. Doing great.
Very, very good. So typically we jump right into some games, but we also have some news today. I think we'll flip right into the news. We have got our resident Axie expert today, which is going to be Ray. Ray, why don't you tell us what's going on in the land of Axie?
Sure thing. There was a great interview by Psychout with the OKEX Exchange director and their friend who is the moderator, Miss OKEX. And the main takeaways from the video, which kind of went under the radar. It was shared on Twitter a bit, but usually these types of interviews aren't shared that often from what I see, unless there's some groundbreaking information. So it did make its way around, but not as often or frequent as I thought it would be. But they're gonna basically staking for Axis is definitely coming within the week, and if that's taken out, if that's taken the wrong way, then I highly doubt it, because that's exactly what Psychout was mentioning. They're going to be releasing a new server for the current battle game that they have, so there can be more than 2 million daily active users. So look forward to that. Going to be more people playing on a daily, and this was on the 22nd, by the way. So we're on the right now. It's the 26th of September. This was just aired on YouTube on the September 22nd. And then also he was mentioning it towards the end of the interview that there's going to be another token that comes out. It's the Ron token. So the Ronin token will be coming out, and this has also been talked about before, but not, I guess, as often as SLP conversations have been going around. And you'll be able to use Ron to do more than just 100 transactions a day, which are currently free for whoever is the owner of the account. And the reason for that is because there's going to be the block space for the network was something that he touched on, and it was very important for the growth. You just don't want anyone clogging up the block space on the network of Ronin. So that's why they're doing incremental releases and upgrades for the network itself. Still centralized in many ways, but just like many other projects, that's the way it has to be for now. And look forward to Q4 and all the things that it comes with it. So that's it.
So do you feel like they're doing it just to do it, or is there an actual benefit to the overall health of the game long term?
Oh, for sure. Everything that they're going to be doing is definitely for the health of the game long term. So these things were already in the works, and we're just closing in on Q4 of this year, which a lot was announced to be released already. So now we're just it's a waiting game.
Got it. Have they shared anything around what the expected returns would be?
Yeah, for staking and for playing, those were the two highest percentages. There was a chart way back when I was listening to Axie Chat, one of the best live streaming shows for when they talk about numbers and everything Axie, and that was a while ago. So I wouldn't know where to pull that up. I could probably see if I could find it. And so playing and staking would be the number one generating revenue streams, I guess, from Axie Infinity ecosystem. And there were some speculated numbers, but it was going off of what was given to us at the time. So it was in the ballpark of reality, just nothing specific, because there was nothing specific given to us from the team themselves as far as numbers. So so over the course of 5 years, the rewards go downwards and then some as the years go on. But for the first 5 years, it was pretty unbelievable numbers that are now something that I could understand because of how much money has been generated. At the time, the treasury wasn't as large as it was now, and this is what I was looking at. So it was kind of like, okay, like the valuation of the company versus what's in the treasury and what's going on a monthly with the income generation. But it's looking like it's going to be happening, so it's something to look forward to.
Great. And then we've got Fancy with some updates from Illuvium.
Hey everyone. Yeah, it's been quite an interesting week at Illuvium. They finished the on-chain gaming drop for his skin. That's been out there quite a while. There was I can't remember the word for it, but yeah, they gave him like a custom skin that got gave out, and about 10,000 people joined that server this week. Also, during the downfall of the market this week, it got listed on Binance, so it was seeing green while everything was red, which was quite nice for everyone in that community. Yeah, and they listed this picture as well on Twitter with the message. The beginning of your journey starts here, a crash landing onto a mysterious, unexplored planet. Are you ready to start your adventure? And yeah, it looks quite cool. Seems like the first snippet of lore they're going to give us, unless I missed something. I think it'd be quite funny that this could fit into Star Atlas type lore, because this could be like it's the ship like crashing on an alien planet within that metaverse. I could see that like working out. What do you guys think about this?
Well, it looks huge for one. I think it sends a message that you've landed someplace that's not where you planned to land, and you have a world ahead of you to explore. Sorry, Jesse, I didn't mean to step on you.
No, I was just responding to what Fancy Hat was saying about this potentially being like one of the worlds in the metaverse, and I can't ever get that picture out of my head. I love that aspect of when you think of Ready Player One. You get in whatever ship you have and you go to this world, and this world ends up being Illuvium. The only challenge with that thus far is the fact that these are being built out on separate chains. So I don't know what the bridge in the future will be that allows metaverses and worlds on different chains to be able to connect to each other. But that would really be cool if you're able to do that.
Well, with the wormhole that Star Atlas is using to get some ETH assets or OpenSea assets onto the Solana blockchain, the first developer that kind of creates that spoke or that hub for multiverses on different or metaverses on different chains is really going to be kind of a first mover. I agree. You need that in order to kind of connect these disparate games and metaverses together.
That
Right.
blockchain of blockchains.
Yeah. So when I look at this, I kind of get that like that Draenei vibe from World of Warcraft, where like an alien ship crashes onto a planet, and now it's just there, like it can't get off, which I think is quite cool. They've also released more images this week. This one's quite detailed.
Wow.
Yeah.
Very nice.
And this almost went under the radar for me. It was a 1 minute 30 video. I watched the first 20 seconds and it was quite static. And then I later went back and watched it again, and I'm glad I did watch it. I'll say that. Let's get it up on screen.
So this is real world gameplay, what we're looking at here, right?
Yeah, it looks like straight from the engine.
Interesting.
Yeah, I like how it's coming along and how consistent the team is with just sharing information and photos and videos of what the game is looking like along the way. And it wouldn't necessarily hurt the project at all. There's a lot of talk about Axie Infinity's development team not doing as much as other projects are doing now versus before, or just since ever in the history of Axie Infinity and all the things that they've been working on. Like, why can't they do the same? So there's a lot of expectations and requests that are being made now. It's going on, under the radar, but still, you'll see a couple of people here and there just bringing it up. A lot of YouTubers are making videos about projects, Axie Infinity and others that might not be sharing as much as people would like to see. But every project is different, and there's different reasons why projects do what they do.
Yeah. So when it got to this part of the video, my mind was blown. Like, it turned from like a static image to like this fully 3D environment, and I was recognizing all these different plants that they had sketched out beforehand and given like little details. And it's really it's a good step towards the first game, even though it was announced that it was delayed a bit. But they are being quite ambitious. You can see like there's progress. Like, his feet is still clipping into the ground incorrectly, and no sound, I assume, but that's just like little things. So yeah.
Still very
It looks really
impressive.
sharp.
Yeah, it's a good test.
Extremely.
The project as a whole, I mean, I always wonder, so many projects and the value of their tokens are often influenced by news. We see with everything, whether it's Gala or Star Atlas, we see the price of ships go up and down. We see the price of, avatars and buildings and deeds within Mirandus and assets over in Gala go up and down based on news. And it's interesting that even when these guys have some news that is, hey, things are delayed, they don't really seem to take a hit with the price of Illuvium. And I think a lot of that has to do with how much faith there is in this project, and that is kind of weighed and measured by the who's who of private investors that are behind this, which are essentially like the heads of major projects out there, major blockchains even. So it's pretty interesting that they were able to round up enough people that have that kind of faith in their ability to bring this to life. And so, yeah, they're taking their time, they're doing it right, and more so than I think any other. And the truth be told, even more so than Star Atlas, I think Illuvium shares more of what is taking place during the development process. Like Fancy Hat was just saying, these plants and things that you see here are recognizable because at some point in the past in their Discord, they've shared sketches of these things through the ideation process.
Yeah, I think Ray was onto something, and it speaks to what you were just sharing, Jesse, as well, that there's almost an expectation now that developers bring people along on the journey. And we've all discussed what companies don't do a good job of that, and I think Star Atlas does, and I think Illuvium clearly does also, because especially if you're being asked to invest ahead of time, and again, I'll use that ugly word, invest. You want to know that there's an end point or a light at the end of the tunnel for the money that you're putting up front to help fund this development, and it's really almost like a Kickstarter in many ways. These developers are pretty clear that they need this money to develop.
Right.
And Star Atlas is no exception. I'm sure Illuvium is no exception as well. And the CEOs and the devs that are actually being the most transparent are the ones that are most approachable to us, at least.
But what I find interesting there is that there's also got to be some type of a fine line at some point where the developers have to decide, like, how engaged can we be with the community, because we're seeing things across the board, and these are pioneers, so these challenges would be expected. We all have our own thoughts about what our experiences are, and for a lot of us, it's quite sour with our experience with Gala. I think that Star Atlas for the first time is bumping up against some of those challenges, meaning that for the first time they got some pushback and some resistance from their community about some of their choices that they made. And, the CEO even took away the access to the CEO channel with the exception of a group of people that are boosting the server. So it becomes one of those questions of how much can a developer share before the expectation becomes that they just need to tell us everything. And then they start, then people start nickel and diming the time of the devs and the executives. Then there's that balance. And there's a balance of, these guys, they are a business. They do need to make money. So they use, these pre-game assets as a capital raise. And then they also probably have some ownness to their partners. And so we're in a phase right now where we've seen with Star Atlas, and I don't know if we're ready to talk about some of this stuff yet, but I'm just kind of bridging towards that direction, that where they have been on point, community, sharing all this stuff along the way, then all of a sudden they're starting to shift a little bit to, which they probably have to. I mean, I'm speaking from the outside looking in. I don't know the challenges and the pressures that they're under in the agreements they have with their partners, but we've seen a number of partner things now. And, I know for us as wanting game information, the town halls have been a little bit lacking lately, but is that just a part of the process?
Yeah. I think it also has to do with the people in the audience asking the questions. We've, I think for people who are really interested into the mechanics of the game and how the lore shows up and how the races show up, that's where our curiosity sits. But we have some people who, I think they just, their curiosities are elsewhere, or they're more surface level, right? And we get stuck. It's almost like I wish the the chat with Wagner, with the server boosters, had its own AMA, because I think the mechanics of the game would carry a higher level of attention than what we're seeing right now. But they have to sell the Orca stuff. They have to sell the Fabricant stuff. And we'll talk more about that later as well. But I agree, Jesse. I think that we're seeing a kind of a story arc of a game development, right? And we got the hardcore fans up front, and now we're starting to see some of the deals that are being made, and they have to market those deals.
Right.
Yeah, I just wanted to point it out as well to that point that we were all talking about, that certain projects are raising the bars of standards for investors, whether they be VCs or just the community investors, the players, the day-to-day people, and there's a sense of entitlement that comes along with being this early in a stage of a game development. And I was never in it this early for any game development in the legacy world, whether if these games are being developed. But the thing is you got to kind of try to learn as you go, as well as these teams, to not be too entitled, because then it could get to the point where there's going to be tension. But if we're going to be conscious observers of these projects and the whole market as a whole, you can't help but compare and contrast, and it's all for the benefit of the companies that we're criticizing, whether it's negatively or positively, because this is what you would want to hear as a dev or a project creator. I know I want to hear all the criticism, good and bad, and then take from that and learn and hire someone to do the the PR, or to research. And so it's all a process with these projects and as individual investors. But as everyone just learns from each other, and everyone does something a little different than the other, we'll have people standing out from one another and projects standing out from one another.
From the outside looking in, again, from that armchair quarterback, that's really easy for to say, here's what I'd do. Well, but it occurs to me that one of the things that we could see value from in the future with new developers as they enter the space is having tiers of based on contribution. And now there's tools like Grape out there that allow you to do that. How much of Polis maybe you have in your wallet, how many ships you purchased, where you at on the leaderboard, something like that. And basically, let's say you're a tier 3, that might give you tighter access to what is being released development wise. So you feel closer to the project, but actually you provide value to the company because you've invested more. And so therefore, you are maybe due a little bit more information rather than the person that hasn't really spent anything, but it's just saying win, win, win.
And I think Star Atlas did that a little bit, or at least has implied that's coming with the badges, right? They've implied some level of access, which I think we're all looking forward to, and we trust that they'll do a good thing. So far, their customer or service recovery when things go bad has been pretty good. It's been one of the best we've seen in the industry. When something fails, they step up and do the right thing. I know they're doing something with the OpenSea poster holders. That's even going to allow them to get some access to some Atlas and Polis, which I think it's an awesome thing to do. And for the people who thought they got shafted by having OpenSea posters, now they're going to get some sort of due reward. So good job and hat tip to Star Atlas on that. Before we jump into Star Atlas, though, we do have some Gala news, and I think Ultra is going to pick us up and drop some Gala.
So just a few things. The first thing that's going to be coming out on the 29th is a Frank Miller NFT premiere. So if you are in the Gala network, go ahead and over there and just take a look. It's under frankmiller.io, and then it should you can sign up at that URL, and then you should be good to go for the Frank Miller drop. The other big news is also Spider Tanks. They have started their closed beta today. You do need a full tank, so you need a body and a weapon of any kind, doesn't really matter. I bought a few, and as long as you have a body and a tank, you can test drive all the vehicles except for the exclusive chicken tank and the whale tank. You have to own those. Other than that, you can play any of the other tanks, any body combination, any weapon combination, at least last time I played, which was last night. And it's pretty smooth. You can't choose the games. You can't choose who to play with. It's all random, just like last time. But as the game goes further, you should be able to. I think they said they're going to start adding that aspect. And then one other thing is they did say they're going to start a rental tank system for that. So they're going to be limited on tanks. So if say 10,000 people, or not 10,000, let's say 50,000 people start playing, I would say at least half of them are going to have tanks, so they're going to want to rent tanks. So just be prepared for that. Nothing really else on that end when it comes to spider tanks.
So, question for you. So, if you've jumped in there, was it the same arena setup? Was there anything new about the experience, or was it the same as past tests?
Nope. You get to play on, I want to say 3 different levels. One is an ice level, like you're fighting in the Arctic. One is in the jungle, kind of like, it looks kind of like Temple Run. Mm-hmm. And then the last one is it's like you're fighting on a bridge, kind of like over, like they have bridge set up over an ocean, and you're just fighting over bridges. And then but the gameplay itself is still the same. You still got the chicken, capture the chicken. So you hold the chicken, whoever holds it the longest. You have collect chickens, put them in the barrel, and then you have just straight team kills, or team kills, team
deathmatch.
Yeah, that's it.
Mm-hmm. And there was some other Gala news going on. Well, I was going to share in relation to that game. You know, there was a brief, I guess, stir inside their Discord because the CEO mentioned they might not make the chickens exclusive and they might start selling them again, which is kind of par for the course for some of the things that we've seen from Gala. But the backlash squashed that within the community. And I know some of you are chicken buyers. And how did you feel about the idea that that may not have been such an exclusive NFT as you were led to believe?
I had a legendary chicken and I sold it. I did rather well with the flip, but the reason that I sold it, being completely transparent, is because of things like that. The fact that initially they said the reason when I purchased it, part of my decision in purchasing it was that, hey, once this sale is over, we're going to burn these chickens. So as someone that's making an investment, because that's exactly what I was doing, I placed the perceived value based on the scarcity because there's only going to be a limited supply. Then, of course, immediately following the sale, they didn't burn the chicken. So now I'm already disappointed with this choice. Then they say they're going to burn them at their GalaCon event. So it's just a long history that I've experienced with Gala now, not doing things that they say they're going to do. Another great example is during that box drop. It was a complete mess. And one of the things they said immediately after was, we're going to take care of those people. Well, I haven't been taken care of yet. I haven't heard word about how that's going to be resolved. And it's been like, a month and a half now. So just based on that history, I don't have trust for what Gala says doing what they say they're going to do. And so I sold my chicken.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any for that Frank? Oh, sorry, Ray. For that Frank Miller drop, was there any going to note holders, or is this all just another revenue burst for Gala?
I haven't heard anything about note holders, but I'm not a note holder myself, so there might be more information in that specific channel. But I haven't heard anything about that. Just that that the drop is going to happen on the 29th, and I thought they said it was going to be auction based, but I don't know. I haven't really gone farther into that other than the announcements that they've been dropping.
Got it. Ray, what did you have to say, man?
Oh, no, I own a chicken, and during that time of the announcement of if it should not or if it should be burned, and seeing what I guess that was the point of it, was to see what the community felt like, because some people might have wanted to buy chickens and they wouldn't mind selling them to make more money. It was just that they're not going off of what they said before. You know, and if the community was smaller before, that doesn't mean that you shouldn't think that we all forgot about it and then move on once the population has grown like 2x, 3x from a Gala Binance coin announcement. You know, if that's the case, I don't know the train of thought that goes on over there, but you know, just keeping up with what's going on a ground level, based off of what they're saying, just doesn't have the confidence levels just decrease. And you know, for all these projects, for where it stands with me is like you have 50% of my trust, and every time you do something that doesn't go towards me trusting you more, it lowers the percentage, and now you have to do something after the fact to get it back up to 50%. But if you keep doing things, you know, so the bar is just going lower and lower, and all the projects bars fluctuate. And you know, I'm very understanding of the times we're in with this early adoption phase and whatnot, but it's with the repetitiveness is not a healthy thing.
Well, they've definitely had some wins. I mean, I know we are generally we're critical of Gala, this based on some personal experiences. However, they have had some wins. I think the Frank Miller thing is a win for them.
For sure.
Now that it's finally off the ground, I think we've been hearing about this for 6 or 7 months now. They have been listed on a number of exchanges. That's brought some additional people into the space, and it's helped the Gala token price, which we all benefit from. I was actually able to sell out of my Gala that I had accrued, and I bought another type of node. So thanks for that, Gala. But they're also doing some things that we talked about offline a little bit that I think is worth talking about here as well, as they're raising the price of their nodes. And originally, for people who don't know, every 100 nodes they sold, the price would go up $100. Now every 100 nodes they sell, the price will go up $500. And just based on the current returns of Gala, based out of the nodes and the very, very limited NFT distribution that we've been seeing, I don't see how they pay themselves off at $100,000 per node. That's crazy talk to me. You can put that $100,000 into a DeFi DEX, and make big bank compared to what you're going to get out of that Gala. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think 20% on $100,000 is way better than currently buying at the prices now a node for Gala, because you're averaging 350 every day at what the prices are now, which I think Gala is like at 0.8. I think it went down some since.
Oh, did it go down again?
It's 9 cent, 0.92, 0.092 right now.
Yeah, so thankfully I got mine in when it was $8,600 and not six figures, or about to be six figures. So it more than paid itself off with this Binance. So thank you, Gala. And I don't know if anyone from Gala was the one who wanted the coin on Binance, because they would always talk about how they don't care about the coin and they don't care for it going up or down. So I don't know if it was Binance who saw interest in Gala and potential to make the side of Binance people make money, or was it the people behind Gala who saw the opportunity to increase the coin price? So, it's just like I wouldn't be able to know because I'm going off of what they're saying. So all I can think of is that Binance saw an opportunity to make a lot of money. So that's why they did it.
Yeah. So here's an interesting thing with the node. So honestly, I don't even know what the node does, because when I got my node back in March, I think I paid $9,300 for it. And since that time, and I installed it on a VPS right away. It cost me like $5 a month. I have not done anything with it at all. I've never updated it. I have no idea how Gala uses it or makes use of it. I know there's been a lot of updates since, but I have not done it once, because every time I've heard someone updating, then they were kind of out of luck for a while and something went up and down, like, hey, it's not broke on my end. I'm not going to fix it. But good news, and I think for probably some of you as well, that I did the math on it, and based on this recent fluctuation and me being able to sell the Gala I was holding, I'm actually in profit now for that one node.
Me too.
Not looking to run out and buy another one, but it is nice to be in profit for that. And for those that aren't too familiar with what we're talking about, the Gala game nodes are intended to be a decentralized gaming platform upon which their games will sit, as Gala seems to have a model of going out and working with game developers and being the partner with those game developers that helps them put their game on blockchain, but also makes use of their decentralized gaming network. And so those of us that are node owners, at this time we get Gala. We're also supposed to be getting NFT drops. I've never seen one since March. I see Monty here a moment ago mentioned that he got a drop the other day. So he says he's not blacklisted. I don't believe that there's any such thing there, but I just have not seen. I have not seen an NFT drop myself. But I do like the idea that at some point we are promised that these, once they have all sold, they will become an NFT. And so, hey, more power to us all if the last node actually sells for 100,000, because that means then we essentially hold an NFT worth that value.
Well, we know they brought in a lot of new customers with the Binance stuff. It exposed people to Gala games, and we know that through the node sales that happened over the past 2 weeks. The distributions are really wonky right now because there's so much going into referral rewards. Yeah. That are everyone's daily earnings drop dramatically, and they say that's going to come back, but at the end of the day, I'm seeing the value return less and less and less. And we know if we go on their Discord, they'll say, well, you bought into the ecosystem, this wasn't an investment. Right. And you'll see things like the CEO saying, we don't care about the price of the coin. Well, that's all bullshit. I mean, because at the end of the day, you're asking people to spend 16 grand to get nothing in return. When you can take that same 16 grand and buy a Store X node or something like that and get, you know, three to 6,000 a month, depending on the price of the coin. So I think there's a lot of new blood in the system, and they're going to start experiencing a second wave of disgruntled critical people as they start to understand what they're really getting into.
Agreed.
Yeah. Actually, I do have a little bit more Gala news if you guys are.
Yeah, let's do it, man.
What do you
So
got?
the last thing is Towncoin. So Towncoin is the native coin for Townstar. So they were saying that if you have a Vox, depending on the job, you can now place your Vox in Townstar and it'll passively earn you coin. The most common will be 38 Towncoin a day, while the most expensive, owned by a benefactor, is about 3,000 Towncoin a day. So
And
depending,
what's the value of a town coin?
oh, we don't know yet. It's just they're just setting it up. So it's gonna be play to earn. Or Townstar is now officially going to be play to earn. And also depending on how rare your NFT is. So like there's two types of wheat stands. There's a wheat stand that they're currently selling now, and then there is the buy true wheat stands. The buy true wheat stands are rare because there's a lot less than what the current wheat stands are selling in store are. So I think they were saying the legendary was coming out to about a couple hundred Towncoin a day just for having it on your and actively playing Townstar, and it's just on the field playing. You earn Towncoin. So it seems in a very interesting way. If you have a lot of NFTs, then you can effectively play. You don't even have to win anymore. You can just get Towncoin and just start accumulating it, and then I believe you're going to be able to swap it for Gala eventually.
So the original model wasn't really a play to earn; it was play based on a contest. Like if you win the top
Tournament
handful, you got paid. Otherwise, you just played. And so now it sounds like you have a means by which to earn Towncoin. We don't know what the value is, but it can be exchanged with Gala. So in some way, you can play and earn, but we don't know quite how much that actually will return a person yet.
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, and right now they're just getting it up. And before it was like what you're saying, it was more of a competition, a week-long competition that a lot of people just got burned out of, like myself. I haven't played since May. But plus it's also, I just don't work from home anymore, so I don't have time to play. But now it's the incentive is buy the NFTs. If you can buy the rare NFT, it'll be in your interest. It's just we don't know what the current rate for Townstar or Towncoin is. And then there's also the mining bot. I can't remember the name. That there are mountains where you can get the Towncoin. They're not active. They haven't talked anything about them yet. This is like $10,000 NFT, like where you have to build like 1,000 pieces. Those haven't even come up haven't been mentioned yet, but I'm pretty sure it's going to come out soon now that Towncoin has officially been released.
I thought I read something briefly around Townstar Coin or whatever they're going to call it and node holders. Have you read anything about the distribution to node holders, or do we get a piece of the action on all the Townstar transactions, Townstar Coin transactions?
We're supposed to on any game that's on the network. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it was supposed to be
the idea.
Yeah, the grandfather one was supposed to be if you have the original like grandfather node, you get a little bit of action out of all of the games, and then they're going to start selling specific nodes for that game, and you get those. And then the last one is like the freebie one where you're just helping the network. But I haven't heard anything on those yet.
I guess it's encouraging that we're seeing them push into play to earn, because I think between all of us, we were questioning if they would ever be a play to earn company, even though they talk about it, but we hadn't seen anything yet other than those tournaments. So this is, I'll put this in the win column for Gala again. But, you know, I think we're all hesitantly and cautiously optimistic with how this is going to turn out. They did have one other thing that I think is worth sharing, though, and something that I think we would put in the camp of a win for Gala. They did announce a new IP that they're coming out with, Stay Together or Die Alone. It's a first-person shooter. I'm going to bring up the video just to allow us to kind of talk about what we see. This is totally hitting my my buzz box for something I'd like to play. It just looks fun, so let's take a look.
I believe this is the same developer as Spider Tank.
Is it?
Yeah, because when they had the AMA with that developer, who I believe is also here in the Netherlands where I'm at, they showed this trailer, and so they showed these things climbing, which was pretty amazing. I think that's what we're about to see here, climbing on the walls. Yeah,
this is why. Yeah, I'm jazzed about this. If they can do this and do it right and make it pay to play, this could be the arena game of the next decade.
Oh yeah, definitely.
This is the next like Quake or Team Fortress. This has got legs, no pun intended.
Put 'em. Yeah, when I saw this, it was really good.
But yet again, this is a third-party developer with a great game who's partnering with Gala, right? So
yeah. And again, I think the attraction for a game developer like this is essentially the feeling of, hey, we don't know blockchain, so we're going to partner with someone that does.
Yeah, this one has a lot of legs. I'll play that 100 days over playing the current little shooty booms or whatever they got going on.
Shooty boom.
Pretty sharp looking though, huh?
Yeah, it's good.
It is. It's a very good looking game. Yeah.
And then,
So,
can I just answer one quick question really quick?
Yeah, go ahead, man.
Someone's asking what her name is. Her name is Gato, which means cat in Spanish. We're very inventive.
Very creative. Yeah,
Sorry,
I've never heard that before. All right, well, I think we're ready to jump into the game that we're playing and we love so much. I think it's time to talk about some Star Atlas. And today we're going to cover 3 different things in the Star Atlas realm. We're going to cover the Town Hall to a degree. We're going to talk about the ships a little bit more. We got something planned here that I think is pretty exciting. And then there's also something that Fancy uncovered that I think we should look at first. Fancy's been finding all these like alpha leaks on different artists' websites. And I had seen a picture of this, but I had not seen the video of this. So I'm going to play it for you, and it looks like it's, Star Atlas within some sort of hangar. We'll play it, we can talk over it, and then we'll kind of tear it apart after we're done here. So let's look.
Look how tall that guy is.
Right?
Yeah, so that's in the picture, that's what I noticed. You got this huge humanoid, and then right next to it a human. So what is that? Is that a human that's modified, or is that an alien?
I think it looks like a droid of some sort. Yeah.
It could be an android. It could be
it?
Ooster, because Ooster are technically androids.
Yeah.
There's going to be so many different variations of like aliens and AIs. I think it's quite fair to give humans just tall boys, something like that.
Well, the interesting thing about that video, and I didn't pull a still of it, but if you watch it, there's a lot of ships or drones in stasis up in the top of the hangar.
Looked like an X4
so it's not
there, just on a chain.
Oh, what did it?
It looked like it.
I didn't see that. But it's exciting to kind of see how the artists are picturing this stuff showing up. If we look up at the top there, you can see the different ships. You've got obviously some cargo going on. Do you think this is inside of a C-11 or a C-9, or do you think this is like terrestrial based? What do you guys think?
Well, you can see like the open air type thing, and then there's the drone like coming in slowly that you just saw coming in, and it does look like it's on like land because there are the jeeps in the background as well. You can see the shadow of that. I don't imagine there would be jeeps like just hanging about in the space station.
Good point.
Yeah, and the way the light was coming in too. Yeah, I think that's terrestrial. I think it's somewhere on a planet.
Yeah.
So what did you guys think of the town hall? I mean, I think I can't remember if we said it offline or not, but I'll say it again. I would say the last 2 town halls for me have not been as motivating as the previous ones. And I think it has to do more because we're talking about dexes and we're talking about digital clothing lines instead of the mechanics of the game. But what do you guys think about the town hall?
Yeah, I think the last couple of town halls felt more like brought to you by.
Yeah, that's fair.
So, and I get that, to do things at scale with what they're planning to do, they do have some onus to partners. That's the reason partners come on, is they want some stage time, they want access to your audience, and they want to be able to pimp their project. And so that's kind of what that was. And it was interesting when someone finally asked the on Orca on the last one, like, why would I move my staking from Radium to Orca? And so his position on that, of course, was that you're going to get additional yield of Orca. It would have been interesting to hear Radium's position on it, on like what they feel the benefits are on their end. But yeah, it was a little lackluster for the things that I'm really interested in, because truth be told, I feel like I want to better understand what I have put a lot of my time and energy and effort into, and how I'm going to get that return out of the game. So rather than more things I'm going to purchase, be it clothing or actually even staking what I already have.
Well, with the clothing, in regards to the clothing, we've kind of coined it. Well, maybe I coined the term privately. I don't want to get galaed with the clothing, right? So I don't want to get this idea that there's this great piece of clothing that you're going to get that's going to give you some sort of great in-game bonus, and those descriptions kind of imply there is some level of bonus in the game, but even within the town hall, I don't think we quite clearly understood what they were. Yeah. And I think all of us bought at least one piece of clothing, and some of you brought multiples. What was your takeaway on the clothing answers that we saw in the town hall?
So, from what I've taken away, at least at the end, all the clothes, all of them are going to get burned, including the badges and the jackets, all of that. And right now, I believe there's less than 2,000 sold, so that's going to be a very rare jacket to have. I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, Pablo said they're eventually going to do something where they're going to send the physical jacket, maybe, or something along those lines.
He hinted along it, like maybe in the future.
They were hoping that they could actually make something that was a good physical representation of what we're seeing virtually. Yeah,
it would be interesting to see how they do that for an international company. Like, would they make it and still charge a cost, or would they make it and just charge you like postage, because you can be anywhere and you can be buying this, so it'd be like most ideal for them to just have it like one location, I guess, and just send it off there.
But then would you have to burn your NFT to get it?
Maybe there'd be a snapshot or something, but that's like down the line, I think.
Yeah, it makes that snapshot. It's easy enough.
Well, and it seems to me that they could go two routes with this. They could do like a Snapchat filter where you can, take a picture of your body and it puts the jacket on your body, so you can kind of see what you would look like in it. And I think if they go to a physical retail item, they really need to get the cosplay community involved, because that community is so good at figuring out how to make things work and bring things to life in the real world. I guarantee a cosplayer is going to figure out those new Fabricant clothes before any merch company does, just because they have the creative desire to kind of solve those problems.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So with regards to that, the kind of the flare up that happened within the community, there was some original wording on a Medium blog post about what the sale was going to be. And essentially what it said in its original form was that this will be on sale until they are A, sold out, or B, this date and time expires. Okay, it's not an either or. As someone that's been a sales and marketing copywriter for many years, this is a very common strategy for creating scarcity, and it's accepted in marketing. But what it doesn't mean, and it wasn't, this kind of had me on alarm with Star Atlas's approach to how they were responding it, suggesting it was confusion in the community. I don't think it was confusion in the community. I think the community called it spot on, saying, look, the way you wrote this, it was supposed to go to this date or with this many sold out. What I do appreciate about Star Atlas is that they did go and powwow, and they came back and said, look, we're going to make this right and we're going to burn it. But it wasn't confusion. I read the copy and I understood exactly what it meant.
Yeah, it was pretty clear to me as well when I first read it, and the countdown timers aligned with that. It was pretty clear that it was meant to be burnt, and I don't think they anticipated that it wasn't going to sell out right away. I mean, these days NFTs sell out.
Yes.
Yeah, they sell out so quickly, and there's a reason why they made 10 million tags so they couldn't sell out.
Yeah.
I think they did the right thing and recovered, but I think every company is going to make a gaffe and try to support the people that are supporting them. And I think this digital company, there's a partnership there, so they want to be good partners.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, you got to do the right thing. If you're selling rarity, you've got to keep it rare. And we've seen that with the ships. There was kind of some back and forth with the ships where they were going to sell more in the future and keep it open, and then they pulled back on that because it would impact the rarity. And I think a lot of people are hoping that their NFTs appreciate in value based on the rarity, even though they've said that this isn't a flippers market in Star Atlas. But at the same time, we're spending our money, we're investing our money. We want it to be what they said up front.
Yeah, I think if they wanted it to sell out, they should have made like a phantom ship, a step finance ship, because people are like anticipating the mini game. They're going to ask themselves, what is a jacket going to do for me?
Mm-hmm.
But that, like the little description on the website, it allows you to imagine it having a bit of utility, which is what I think most people did. It only took one person from the community to get me to believe that they all were being burned before it wasn't. So because it was unclear, but I kind of believed the timers.
I did as well. I just wanted to make a note on that a lot of these projects, including Star Atlas, they have to look at the scarcity and burning of the maximum supply as a requirement in this space. And although it makes you the most money by not burning anything, because you're coming from the outside world of marketing and just generating money for the company, there's a fine line, and you'll learn fast here with the community that has been around in the NFT gaming space that you're going to get a lot of pushback, because the perceived value of these are the scarcity, or is the scarcity of these assets and the finite amount of them in existence. So what they did, I feel, was great. They adapted quick, and they didn't just ignore the community. Right? It was addressed, maybe in the most nonchalant way that didn't ruffle the leaves again. And I think it worked well. And seeing this just makes me more confident. Although everything could have been better, right, or it could have went a different way. It's just that if this is what's going to happen every time, there needs to be a balance and in favor of more so the community in these early stages than these big VC funders or companies that they're doing marketing for. So, yeah.
Oven Punch has an interesting comment here. I mean, that 8,888 supply for Legendary was a bit, I guess, seeing over the top. Glad they're burning the excess. So I'm curious what you guys think of this, because we've seen this with, excuse me here. We've seen this with Gala and others as well, where incredibly rare. There's 50,000 of them. So if you've got something that's, you've got common, uncommon, rare, epic, legendary, and in Gala's case, ancient. So in this case, like how many? What is the amount that's appropriate for each of those? What do you guys think?
Well, I think it's unfortunate that some companies, and I don't know if I've seen Star Atlas do this yet, but they're looking at rarity compared to the future state of the game. So they're saying, well, when we have 10 million players, this will be really rare. But you don't right now. Exactly. And two, it's not rare right now because you've saturated the market. We saw that with the exemplars in Gala. The only thing that's genuinely rare in Gala with Mirandus is the deeds right now, right? Those are a finite supply and they're done. And I think any game runs the risk of kind of falling into that trap of saying this is rare and trying to break out of their excuse of its rarity with the future state of the game. So hopefully Star Atlas is learning some lessons quickly here.
I'd be curious to see if there's going to be like some industry standards developed. Like what is defined as within the gaming NFT space. If you want to call something rare, then it really should only have this quantity. Because again, like you said, it can't be based on what you think futures are, because that's absurd. Because there's no guarantee of futures. It should be based on eligible market viability at this time.
Absolutely.
The one thing that I'm still trying to get a clear understanding of is the rarity as it relates to return, right? So we know that we have 140 ships coming. We know that there's going to be different levels of rarity within the utility of the ship. Is the rarity assigned only to a function of how much, Atlas you'll get as a return on a mission? Or is there some in-game benefits like, I'm going to get there 30 minutes faster if I have this legendary ship versus if I use the common variant, which indirectly does have a profit effect to it, but I look at it differently, right? What do you guys think?
Yeah, I wonder a lot of things about how rarity will be handled in the future. For example, let's say that for those of us that got like a Calico Guardian, there's only a 224 or something like 274, somewhere in there. And so that's cool if you have one of those, especially if it becomes a thing where not only in the future is it a cool aesthetic because there's only so many of them that show up, but hopefully it holds some of its uniqueness and appeal for power as well. Because while there is a fixed number of ships coming, this being a legendary ship, how unique and legendary will it retain that kind of perceived value if all of a sudden there's Guardian 2 and Guardian 2.5 and Guardian Extra, whatever, different variations, because they can continue to make as many ships as they want. I'm just curious, like, is there some conversation internally how they choose to say, you know what, we want to still make this something that when you see it in the future, you're like, wow, that's awesome. I wish I'd have been there to show up for those early sales rather than it being watered down by future things that are shared that kind of dilute its value.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, didn't they say the rarity would determine the what you'd get back in game?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I guess we'll be going over that. Hopefully you're correct, and that we get a good like with your purchase of the Guardian, you get a really good return, because I believe he set a date of 1 year tentatively, right, to get your full return back. Yeah,
on an early one of the broadcasts he was on, I forget which one, but he did kind of suggest that a 1 year seemed to be with a respectable time for you to see return on your investment. And I do like the idea that they're one of the only game developers that actually say, hey, we actually look at this thing from the standpoint of an investment. And the more that you have invested in the game, we want to make sure that you're actually seeing return. The fact that any game developer is actually saying that at this point is a pretty cool thing.
Yeah. It really does feel like they're creating a kind of a proactive DeFi, right? You could throw all this money into a DeFi protocol and get some money back and some returns, or you can throw all this money into Star Atlas or other play-to-earn games that have some sort of mechanism between generation of money and giving it back to you. And it feels like DeFi, but you get to play a game while you're doing it. That's how I'm taking this stuff away right now. Some of the other things they talked about on the town hall, one was disabling the market items. And that kind of leads into the licenses as well. We know that there's a bunch of people out there who bought things that were excessively priced because they had a misunderstanding or they wanted to get ahead of the game. And there are probably going to be some sore feelings about that in the long run. But they also have done some game changes as well with the licenses. So anyone want to share what they did with the licenses and give your perspective on it?
So yeah, I just held on to mine. I didn't want to risk it. Like, what's the point of having a ship if you can't fly it? But if you had excess, it did make sense to try and flip a captain's license, because they were going for quite a substantial amount, I believe, before. I wasn't really monitoring the market, but was anyone else?
$3,000.
Crazy.
Wow.
Yeah, so people were spending that, and they just left it like that, and it continued into the game, and people just had to do like a couple missions to earn it. Then they would have been quite mad. So
I really think it was good where so just in case if you don't know, if you had a pilot's license, you're going to be getting, I believe, a legendary crewman, and if you have a captain's license, you'll be getting an anomaly, which is the Gala's version is ancient, so it's higher than a legendary. You'll be getting an anomaly crew member. So I believe I'm assuming they're going to burn the licenses and then swap them out with a crew member instead.
Yeah, anomalies were one of a kind. That's what I took away with anomalies. So it's weird to see that we're going to have so many captain's licenses that are now anomalies. Sorry, Jesse, I didn't mean to step on you.
No, that's a good point. I was just thinking, so that sounds like there's two stages here that makes it a little bit confusing. if you were a poster holder and as one of the rewards you received a license, be it a pilot license or a captain's license, those essentially are going to be burned. In exchange, you're going to have something minted that's going to be the legendary crew or anomaly crew. Now, once that takes place, I'm assuming that takes place first. Then after that, you're going to be receiving new licenses based on the ships that you're holding. Is that everyone's understanding?
That is correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I've been wondering, like, what type of crew member could be unique enough for someone who spent 3,000 USD on a license, and that's where like these type of things come into play, really.
Jacked. Get jacked.
Yeah, like the unique, like, rare variants of like each faction they could have. I'm just speculating, but the Fatoli could just like fly through space and do whatever he wants without a ship. This guy could be like super strong. Yeah.
It'll be interesting if it's cosmetic based, or because as far as I understand, the avatars, at least in the mini game, are going to be pictures, right? You're going to see a picture of a mud guy or an oni, and I imagine your crew members are also going to be pictures. And I'm wondering if they're going to be like up-leveled pictures, or if it's going to be in the stats. I would say I'm not sure. I think 3,000 is overpaying for a captain's license. Maybe I'm wrong. But if you're going to have a $3,000 crew member, that's a pretty big. It should give a pretty big in-game advantage, in my opinion.
So on that note, over the past week or so, just because out of curiosity and the fact that we have this lull, like you were saying earlier, I think pregame is like, I want a game to play. Give me something to play.
I want something to play.
You know, we're in this lull. We're like, come on, can we get something? So while we're in this holding pattern, about a week ago, I started playing O-Game. And so one of the things that stands out, being that we've heard numerous times now that the devs and, you know, anytime we ask someone, they suggest that minigame may have some similarities to O-Game. And so for those that don't know, O-Game is a space game where you're mining resources, you're discovering new planets, you're having to build defenses, you're sending ships out to do exploration, and you're building crews and things like that. And so almost the bulk of what happens in O-Game is based on timers. So I'm assuming that part of what we can expect in the mini game then are going to be buffs that maybe A, reduce timers, and B, reduce our ability for yield. You know, in other words, if you have a buff, maybe you have a greater scanning distance, maybe your mining crew can mine more resources. So it's going to give some buffs that pay some either a yield, observation for distance, or timers are reduced, things like that. That would be my guess as to what these buffs might do.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it could just be a simple case of like a higher rarity or like percentage chance of something being better before you collect it. So like a mission could just be enhanced by having like a jacket, for example, with luck.
So can I answer that? What's on the screen right now?
Yeah, bring it up. Go ahead, go ahead and answer it.
So Harmon Payne, one thing that worries me is that Crypto Blades they gave 2 big rewards, which crashed the game. One thing that's kind of in Star Atlas's favor is Michael, who is by his career is an economist. So hopefully he can see, he should be able to see what's going on. If there's 2 big rewards, he's going to pull back and all that good stuff. But this is basically his wheelhouse is economy. So hopefully, I believe they already have actually a couple of good things set in motion, right? If I'm correct.
Yeah, there's going to be Paula staking pretty quick on, and in addition to his background in finance, they've actually engaged quite a few economists. So out of all the projects out there, this is the one I feel most strongly about them being able to tool and fine tune and get the economic structure right. They also did mention, though, that they are going to wait and lean heavily towards favoring the early game adopters for the higher rewards and then scale back to be able to even things out.
Yep.
And I think with any game like this, you have to expect there's going to be some tuning that's done, and there's going to be people who are happy about it and people who are upset. My biggest, checkbox that needs to be checked is they're doing it for the health of the game. If the tuning is for the health of the game and not to get quick wins on earnings or satisfying the loudest group, because that sometimes happens. We have to trust, and I think we've put a lot of trust in this dev team. Ray, go ahead.
No, I was just wanted to mention to that point too. Is just that a lot of these games are coming strong and fast and hard into the scene with these favorable rewards, and they didn't have the tokenomics set out right from the gate. This Star Atlas has been in the works for more than a year, and the economics of it are more sound, in my opinion, right after Axie Infinity for it being a successful game down the line. There's always going to be some interruptions or changes that take place on the economic side. There's levers that are going to be able to be pulled as it's more centralized than what it is going to end up being, which is a decentralized game where there's going to be the majority of polis that's owned by people putting in their votes on a proposal for what they want to see in the game or not see in the game. And so as we are very early with these things, I wouldn't just like learning about these projects and what they're about and who the team is and what their tokenomics white paper, interviews with the CEOs if they're out there, like all of these things come into account, and it's not just one thing that you can compare to another project. It's all to scale, but at the end of the day, there's, like we talked about earlier, there's going to be standards that each project. And that's the thing. There's more dilution now in the space. Before, Axie Infinity was the only one who did these certain type of rewards, and they have this release with this roadmap of what the game is going to look like over time. And then, sure enough, Illuvium came out, started almost copying, but added staking for the tokens right out the gate. When Axis is going to be taking a longer while for staking, and then you have Gala Games with their nodes, and everyone's doing a similar but different thing. And when the game comes out, we're going to have rewards. And the tokenomics for Star Atlas are just more secured and grounded in reality than all these other projects, from what I've been researching and what we have talked about, even with the tokenomics on the show in previous episodes, if you want to check that out.
And then if you want to check out the ROI that they provided, you can go ahead and go to the Star Atlas main page. I dropped it in I don't know if it's going to pop up though, but it's just basically, staratlas.com. That's it. And it has both their white paper, which has a little bit of information on that, but then they also have an econ paper, which should at least satisfy most of your questions. And then anything else, you can always go to the Star Atlas channel or server, and then anybody there should be able to help you with that on that end.
Yeah,
cool.
and one more.
Go ahead.
One more thing about these games and the assets and the NFTs, there's going to be added utility along the way. So with Axies, you'll be able to burn them specifically to upgrade parts on other Axies if you wanted to. So similarly, maybe in Star Atlas and Illuvium, there's going to be maybe these alluvials or these ship components that you get from a battle or that you scavenge, and then you can burn those to then help yourself in other areas that you can help yourself with. So there's going to definitely need to be, like, for, I think it was like Luco 13. He was basically saying the assets need to be actually burned for fuel, food, water, etc.
I think they are.
So sure. This is the thing that we will be seeing as new people are coming into the space. They're going to have these questions that are like, how is an economy going to sustain itself if everything is just going to be produced all the time and there's no demand or no other way to get to keep the population of these items and ships in a realistic, rational, quantity, and this is the part of the growing process. So the project and the people who develop the game, they're going to change these things along the way to make this all make sense, and it's a journey. So come along.
I think Shirdaxi and Farmers Guild, which I think is Punjab, both asked the same question in a different way, and really. The question here is, how long are we willing to wait for SA comes out? And I'm willing to wait for the AAA game for the long term, as long as we have the mini game earning return, right? I mean, even if I'll be honest, if the mini game returns are good, the final game is the icing on the cake. I really want to play that game, but I also want to make money. So I'm looking forward to the mini game.
So I think that's pretty much what we're gonna see. Now the mini game. Yes, a lot of people were anticipating that we would see it towards the end of September. Now it's rolled into October. Hopefully it doesn't extend out to November, but you never know with these things. So that is going to be the exciting part, is having the mini game come out. And I understand that it really is their intention at Star Atlas to get people earning right away. To be able to stake your polis, to be able to begin doing game missions for Atlas, and then eventually be mining land sales towards the end of this year. But with regard to the 3D world, you can rest assured we are a long way off from that. And the reason for that is actually quite simple. They're building the 3D world platform on top of technology that's still being developed. Like all this stuff with nanite technology and a lot of the things with metahumans and all the things with Unreal Engine 5, these are things that are still unfolding now. So there's actually going to be probably even newer technology that comes forth by the time that the game is fully developed. And listening to some of the original podcasts, with Michael Wagner, he basically even said up front that this is like a 10 to 15 year project. We're looking way out there for what this thing will develop and become. But kind of what you were saying, Banjo, about looking forward to, it'll be like the icing on the cake. It's going to be very much, I think, like reading a book in the mini game, and then all of a sudden getting to watch the movie and being immersed in it when the 3D side of it comes out. So I don't think we're going to wait too long before it actually is play to earn, that side of it. But it is going to be quite some time before we actually see a 3D world.
So I can actually give you a quick roadmap on it if you want.
Sure.
This comes from Michael himself. So technically, we were supposed to have a registration event last week, but it got pushed back. He said they wanted to add a few additional features, which everybody will be happy about. So he just says, please wait. It's going to happen. It's growing pains. They're still trying to push around October. I'm assuming the end of October, if the timeline sticks. They want to keep it where that's when we can start doing ship missions. And that's when we can officially start getting some of the returns back on that. And he also said it's going to be expedited versions of the actual game. But we don't know what's going to be happening on that end. Next is going to be ship configurations. So you can, I'm sorry, not ship configurations. I believe the next one is stations. So you can set up your mining rigs, your farming, and then pretty much set up the land base and how it should be set up. After that is going to be, I can't remember if it's space station or ship configuration. I think it's space station to set up your space station, see how that works, and we're going to continue on from there. And then remember, these are all installments on top of each other, so you can still continue to play the ship missions and then the land portion and the space portion. And these are about 4 to 6 weeks apart, with the final mini game being ship configuration, where that's where we're going to have our first look at the in game with 3D rendering and I'm having a brain fart on the engine right now. But that's where we're going to actually be able to see the ship. You can configure your ship with the modules you want. You can configure your ship with the crew members you want. And then if you like the way it looks, you can buy it on the spot with everything along with it and then instantly throw it into the mini game. With the full game released is quarter of 2022. I think they're saying February, but they're saying first quarter of 2022 next year. So that's the original roadmap, but I do highly expect things to be pushed back because I'm pretty sure there's going to be bumps in the road, or they want to add additional features that may take longer, so those can get pushed back.
Yeah, I think Q2 or Q1 of FY22 is probably very aspirational for the final game. We might see something in 3D, but they're not going to get that game launched until 23 or 24, in my opinion. I'm not sure if others feel the same way.
I think the first thing we'll see in 3D, as has been mentioned, is going to be the showroom, where you can actually kind of walk around there and just see your ship and swipe through some of the upgrading features rather than actually being out in the world. With regards to the delay in registration, while we can only speculate, my hope is that some of the reasons for that pushback is that there was some community feedback about concerns over privacy and leaderboard, and so maybe that's some of the consideration. Maybe they're taking some of that to heart and looking for different ways that they can approach that to give a little bit more privacy. There's a name registration, which is completely separate, but I don't know how much of that was originally tied in. And then there's also the idea of guilds. And so maybe they're going to build guild registration and selection into the registration process. And I don't know if that was actually in play before, but it seems like it would make it much easier for for person to say, yes, I'm in this guild, and thing comes up. Well, your guild has selected Oni. So therefore it makes it more clear rather than falling down this rabbit hole of things you can't undo later. So maybe those are some of the considerations that were responsible for some of the pushback for registration.
Yeah. And there's a lot of back and forth going on in chat right now around ROIs, and each can give their own perspective on ROI, but here's my perspective. You're going to get into it what you take out of it. So if you're putting in the bare minimum and it takes a year for your investment to return, that seems fair. But I think the diehards who are, chugging along 10 hours, 12 hours a day, doing everything they can, I think your investment or your return will come back sooner. But this is all dependent on the price of Atlas and Polis outside of the game as well. And I think, again, it was Punjab from Farmers Guild who brought up that Michael talks about reinvesting into the game. And that's DeFi at its core, right? You make money by compounding your earnings in DeFi. And if you look at this as a portal into DeFi through the lens of a game, you're going to make additional money by compounding what you earn. So if the idea is to earn $40 a month and pull it out of the game, you may never get ahead. But if you're reinvesting that $40 back into the game and compounding those earnings, then you stand to do well over time. And the last thing I'll say about that is, up until now, everyone's been playing games for free. So whether you play an hour a day and get nothing on the Xbox, or play an hour a day playing Star Atlas getting something, you're still getting something. Anyone else?
Yeah, that's a good point, Banjo. I think it's I've got another video to share. This one is about a space station. I think we've seen this photo before, but it is quite interesting. I posted it in the chat. There was two of them. We showed the other one beforehand, but this one is quite nice.
So is this a space station? Is this like what we would expect to see above our mining claim? Is that what you guys think this is?
I think so.
Yeah. I just hope without not all that space junk around it, but yeah, hopefully.
And it looks like to the right there's another space station. So we see other ships that are implied, but just not in the center of the screen, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I'm also curious, let's say that you are on a mining claim, but then you later decide that this mining claim and this planet is too close to borders, and so you're going to pack things up. Is there a teardown cost to prep your space station for relocation? Is there a relocation cost? Is there another time, a timer for reestablishing and setting it up to getting it fully running again? Again, a lot of unknowns, but pretty interesting how that will work.
Well, I think it was implied that if you moved your space station from, you could move your mining equipment and space station from one point to the other, but it had to follow the process. I think it has to be transported. I don't think you can just pick up and tear down and move. And that gets back to what we talked, I think, last week around using your wallet to kind of cheat. And I think they're going to prevent that level of cheating as well. I would hope so with the space
I think
stations.
they are.
Go ahead, Fancy. Or Andy, sorry.
Oh, so you're correct. I believe you're going to need one of the big issues is just moving anything in this game, because if you can instantly hot swap from one wallet to another, that's just boring. Well, it's good financially, but it's also boring, and that's also going to kill like the freight industry. Like what's going to happen to space FedEx? Like it's going to be gone. You're not going to have it. So I think that's where a lot of the big freights, like the Packlight. And I believe you're the one that's saying that, Banjo. It's the sleeper. It's right now. It's the sleeper of the ships. Mm-hmm. Like if you have a fleet of these pack lights, and people need to move equipment from one point A to point B, like you're ready to go. You have a small company now that you can just instantly just move everything. And then on top of it, you don't even have to move one at a time. You can move a fleet. I believe Michael said five at a time. You can just have 5 pack lights just moving across, and then you just pay a few people for escort duty if you're going flying through the medium security zone, and you have a good business model going for you.
Michael did in the town hall again reaffirm their aspiration to rent out equipment, which the pack light is the perfect ship for that, right? You put it in the safe zone so they can't go out and get it damaged, or into the deep zone and get it destroyed, and you just put them to work. Moving cargo from one point to the other, and maybe you use guild resources, or you pay a different person to fly some X5s and run defense and protection, but this game is built to rent out resources. It really is.
And what's the saying? If it flies, floats, or drives, rent it. So
Yeah.
It's the U-Haul of ships.
I still can't Oh, go ahead, Jesse. Sorry.
I was just saying it's great in the sense that you may have a situation where you've got a bunch of stuff. You're just trying to get from point A to point B. And maybe you're not even in the business of hauling stuff regularly, but you have a one-time job. It's better to go and rent that for the day or rent someone's services than it is for you to go out and buy these ships that you won't be using all the time. So I can definitely see rental value in it for sure.
One thing I have been wondering this week is how much you can invest into like your individual character. Like I've been rewatching Star Wars this week, and it doesn't matter what like ship, a vehicle a Jedi uses because they have their lightsaber with them. I'm like wondering how like translatable that could be into a game like Star Atlas, because that would make the smaller ships quite attractive. Like you could literally just kamikaze in, it blows up as you jump off last second.
The skill tree is where that's going to be, where you will be able to spend a lot of money defining your character, your avatar.
Well, I think the cool thing about that, especially if you start thinking about the renting economy, is the gamers from, I'm just going to use Philippines because that's the Axie equivalent right now. So the gamers that come from that community, if they start getting a pilot's license and working up their skill tree, they're actually going to be in demand, right? There's going to be a tier level of the people who might be renting these assets and working for you, where their demonstrated skill is going to translate to higher value, and they're going to actually be in demand instead of kind of just this horde of people coming in wanting to be scholars.
Researchers, scientists, politicians, there's so many skill trees that the ships at this stage, they do seem like everything, but perhaps in a year they're going to be like just like the complementary on the side, unless you're in like the game that is like a different game, like where you're looking at it from the top down and everything is who owns this, who owns that, and what can I gain.
I can't read the name, but within chat somebody asked the question, where did the chat with Swagner go? And really what happened is that channel was starting to turn into a kind of a complaint channel for people who are upset about one aspect of the game or another. It was really derailing the point of view of being able to ask the CEO questions. So they blocked the channel to all people except for server boosters. So if you want to be back in that channel, you have to be a server booster on their Discord. And I have to tell you, the dynamic has changed again. It used to be really chill and cool in there. Then it got hectic with people complaining, and now it's kind of chill again inside that category.
Yeah, and I mean, for those of you that wonder like why a company would do that, it's because if you put a barrier of entry, even a small one, in this case it is fairly small. It's essentially paying for server boost, and I don't what is the cost of a server boost right now?
$4 a month or something.
Yeah, it's not much. But honestly, what that does is it trims down, and it's kind of like there's a bunch of people that will show up, whether they purchased anything in the game or not. They just want to be trolls and complainers. And you immediately eliminate those folks that don't even want to pay $5. And that actually changes the dynamics of a conversation in a channel dramatically. So I think it was a good move.
Yep. It went from a group of what's their 70,000 members to 61.
Yeah.
It's just the more growth that takes, the increased growth that takes place, there's more a lack of understanding. So there's more people who don't understand what's going on than there were previously, and now you have all these questions that are coming up that might have already been answered in all of the multiple town halls that have taken place, and all of the interviews and all of the documents that they released, the white paper, the tokenomics. The information is there for you to have a good enough understanding to be over the 50% mark of investing into the game. I can't speak specifically to anyone individually. Everyone's different with their own financial circumstances. But for anyone coming in now to see us as bullish as we are in any game, but Star Atlas specifically, it's for a reason, right? We did our homework, and us individually feel confident enough to put in XYZ amount, all right? And besides that, it's also a risk. So whatever you're willing to risk and not afraid to lose, then again, this is nothing we talk about on our channel is financial advice. And you do your own research, but I always go back to that. It takes time, it takes months, it takes weeks, it takes days, depending on your schedule, to look into these projects. There's multiple projects all saying the same things but doing different things, or not doing the same. So it's just like you can't really just go off of one podcast at any one time, because there's developments taking place all along the way up until the game comes out and then some. So do your homework.
And on that note, being that when project is in development, there's kind of an unspoken, and that unspoken is be thankful if a developer is sharing a timeline, because they're so reluctant to do that, because I don't know how many of you are familiar with just software development in general or technical projects.
Yeah.
They always get derailed. They always end up zigging and zagging and will often take longer than they are scheduled to. And so if you have people that are trying to hold you to these things that you say, you want to say less. And so there's a fine line between, saying, hey, what do you anticipate? What do you expect? What are those goals those stretch goals? Like where does it fall in line? Then so you're not disappointed if all of a sudden you see some pushback, because that is just the nature of development. So you kind of have to get used to that going in and realize that no matter where you fall into the process, if you're getting in today, we're still on the bleeding edge of all of this.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And just the same as a lot of people are introduced to crypto just with the altcoins or Bitcoin, and then they never invested in anything other outside of crypto, maybe like stocks, where there's fluctuations of maybe 2 or 3%. But in crypto world, it's 20 to 30% on a weekly, monthly, or whatnot. So you have to kind of get used to these fluctuations. And then the crypto gaming space is a whole other ballgame, because you're not seeing any fluctuations per se in the assets you're buying. Maybe on OpenSea if they're on the secondary market, but the same with the in-game tokens. So there's an evolution that took place before you even got here at this moment in time, and it's worth looking back and educating yourselves and looking into different projects and the videos and what the CEOs are saying before you invest any money. And again, this is not financial advice. If you have enough to just splurge and then do your thing.
Yeah, there's different mindsets in every market. If you get a 10x in crypto, you'll want to hold for that 100x. If you get a 10x in stocks, you'll start selling guides.
Yeah, it's actually pretty funny how you say, 30% drop. It's just correcting itself. It's fine. Like, I should have sold when I had the chance. It's fine. Like, next time.
Yeah, you get desensitized, but you learn great lessons along the way.
Yep.
I think one of the things that's pretty clear to those of us who are watching, is right now this is a crypto space. Play to earn gaming is largely people who are into crypto, also have a passion for gaming, and we probably won't see the gamers come in until the official launch of the AAA title, at least for Star Atlas. And the thing that concerns me there is the gaming community, in my experience, is largely toxic. Like, if it doesn't line up exactly like you showed them and exactly how they expect, then they start tearing it apart. And there's a couple of games that have come out recently where they've had that experience, and there's no love for the developers. And I appreciate the fact that it's a crypto space, and we understand that crypto comes with some nuance and comes with some need to understand and learn. Because if it was the game space in here right now, I think we would see a different community in the Discords. It's a different animal.
Yeah, I think where you see a lot of that, a community that I've been a part of for many years, is Steam. And if you're in the Steam community, you've got all of these comments that you can read and reviews based on games, and so you get the full spectrum. You get the people that are upset with a project. The nice thing in that community is that you do have a measure of how many hours played. So if you've got some joker just going off on a game, but they've got they've logged 2 hours, like, buddy, right. What are you talking about, man? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, I think we are ready for kind of the main event here. We've all bought our ships. We've got our different hangar full of our own personal NFTs and ships, and we thought it would be fun for the community to kind of compare some of the assets, the ships that you've bought, with some other spaceships or things in the real world to give you an understanding of how big they are, and kind of preparing for this show, I really got a good sense for how big some of the big ships are. And again, we're only covering the ships that have been sold so far in the GAO. We'll do this again once we see some of the other ships come out and do some comparisons there. But let's get into a ship size comparison, because I think there's going to be some people who are really excited with what they've bought. I know I'm pretty jazzed. So I didn't load up kind of the all-in-one snapshot, but why don't we get right into the ships? And we know that the extra small ships are about 4 to 6 meters long. And if we think about meters as it relates to height, we have something that's very familiar to people over in the UK and actually around the world. So we know that what the Visas or the Opal Racer is about how long? 4 to 6 meters, right?
Yeah.
So it's about as long as a TARDIS is high. Or if you're a Stargate fan, it's about as long as a puddle jumper. And this is where I started getting interesting, because like Stargate's one of my favorites, right?
Yeah. Love Stargate.
And you know, the idea that this you get a better sense, because we've seen these in TV and in movies now, and you get a sense for how big they could be in the game. And just those are the two leading up to the Opal, but let's talk about the Opal, right? So that's as long as a puddle jumper. What do you guys think?
I think another comparisons for this one here, or maybe it might be the small, the extra small rather than the XX small. And I don't know if you got that in here, but I often think of like Anakin and the pod racers.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't pull that one up, but I think you're right. And the other ship, it should go without saying, the other ship in this space is also the X4, and we have a pretty healthy appreciation. That looks like Destiny 2 bikes, right? If you played Destiny 2, this is what you drove around the game for years, right? It's something that looks similar to this.
Yeah. And if you look, they put in Fancy to honor him. He's just missing his Roman hat.
That's right.
And then to give you a little bit more of an understanding for people who've maybe been in the military, these ships are about the size of a Humvee, right? So if you think about that, they're about the size of a big truck, right? At 5 meters long. So you're definitely 1 or 2 people in a vehicle, and that's what you got, right? No pilot's license needed for these extra small ships.
It would just be one pilot.
I think one of them is 2, right?
No, just one.
Or am I wrong?
The jet and the X4, or that little TIE fighter looking one, is the 2 pilot.
Yeah, and they can both fit inside the hull of a Calico Guardian. We know that. Yeah.
Is the X5 one person or 2?
2.
The X5 is a 2-person. Yeah.
Okay, all right. So that's probably the first upscale to 2 people. Is that, and also the jet.
Right.
Yeah, and it's also worth saying the sizes we're going by. They've been like estimates that have been around for a while, so they could be like wrong. Like as you like go back and watch old episodes, you'll see that things have been updated from what we were talking about at the time,
Right.
and that could be because of our feedback, which is what is like our goal here, ideally.
Maybe
Sorry,
one of the NFTs we'll get in the future will be an X4 sidecar.
Yeah, right. So we're now getting into the extra small ships at 8 to 12 meters, and this was one of my favorite ships growing up and into my adult life. To give you a comparison, and I think what our extra small ships are right now, the Opal Jet and the Pierce X5.
Opal Jet, 2 jets.
The jet, yeah, and
2
the
jets.
X5.
That's right. Well, that's a Viper from Battlestar, right?
Nice.
So that's awesome. Or if you're less into sci-fi and more into real life, that's the SpaceX Dragon with the little Tesla and Elon right there, right?
Nice.
So you're getting a better sense, and even for our World War, I think this is probably 2.
1.
Yeah,
Yeah. It'll be 2.
One?
It'll be 2.
Mm-hmm.
Your Pierce X5 is about the size of I don't know what the plane this is.
A
But
Warhawk P40.
there you go,
I'm not
a
a-
Warhawk
not a
P40.
There you go.
Oh, Or if you're into Babylon 5, I never was, but I know some people are. It's about as big as a Star Fury. So you're really starting to get a sense for the scale of some of these smaller ships, and they're not
Right.
that small, right?
Yeah.
And then this one's a little bit outside the 8 to 12 meters, but I think it fits in this category, and that would be the X-Wing,
Nice.
right? So a Pierce 5 is about the same as an X-Wing, and then if we go into some of the Star Atlas ships, we've got, the Jet, we've got the Pierce X5, which again is kind of like that Viper from Battlestar Galactica, and then we've got again another version of the Pierce. And this one actually has humans next to it. So you get a sense of the scale there. I'm not sure where a second person would go in there. Do you guys know?
It'd be like the have you ever seen the Empire Strikes Back when they're flying in the oh my god, I can't believe I can't remember the name, but the one in on Hoth. It'd be one in the front, one in the back.
Oh, okay. Like the snow speeder.
Yes,
I think it also could be one side by side. Like one could be driving, one person could be a gunner. They could have like different consoles each. But yeah, it is definitely two, I believe.
Yeah. Now, then we get into the medium ships, right? So we get into the ships that are 32 to 50 meters. And we have probably the most recognized ship in all space fanfare. We're looking at the size of a Millennium Falcon, right?
Yeah.
And what's interesting about this is what kind of made me go, because I didn't really think about the medium ships being this big. And if you think about watching Star Wars and all the different scenes you see inside of the Millennium Falcon, is there going to be that much variety inside the ships? And think about all the development that's going to go into just making ships, if they're that, if you can move around inside them that much.
Right. Well, I'll give you another ship that's in this range that's people are probably familiar with. Is the Razor Crest, which is a Mandalorian ship. It's about 26 and a half meters.
Yes.
Perfect. Another, recognizable ship that's on everyone's mind right now. Another one that's an oldie but favorite. Well, I guess it's not that old. It's kind of new current IP, but if you're a fan of The Expanse,
Nice.
Rosciante is also that size ship. And again, if you look at the interior when they film that, it may never be truly to scale, but it is a big ship. It's like a ship where you can be in one part of the ship and not hear people in another part of the ship.
Especially in a situation like that show where they spend as much time on it. So you get the feel of what life would be like within that space. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, 100%.
Nice.
And then if we look at the Star Atlas equivalents, we've got Fancy's favorite.
I need a
We've got-
hero. Sorry, every time I say it, that's all I think of is that song.
You can put that on your little tape player inside your ship, right?
Save us,
But we know this is kind of a guild favorite. There's a couple people in the guild who love this ship, who waited for this ship. It's gone down. It's very affordable now in price. Fancy put his own little flags on his version of the ship there. But it gives you a good sense. Yeah, right.
Sorry. Go ahead, continue.
But again, here with the people, you get a good sense for how big the ship is inside, and you see that there's living areas, and this almost feels smaller than I would expect it to when you're comparing it to a Rosciante or a Millennium Falcon, right?
Yeah, so I've been wondering what's at the back there. Does it end? Is there a door somewhere? And is there also going to be like floors that we can remove and then stock things onto there? Because that's like a reoccurring theme with the Millennium Falcon. Sorry, Banjo, go on.
No, you're fine, man. I mean, this is your baby. There's no doubt about that. This is, if there's anyone who's a big fan of this ship, it's Fancy. And I agree. I think there's part of the ship we're not seeing there. But what's also not clearly demonstrated here is the width, right? This is probably a wider ship than it looks right here.
Yeah. And we can see down below, it says cargo bay, but what will be interesting in comparison at some point is how much cargo each type ship can hold. For example, we know ships that are maybe legendary fighters that are classified as large, but because they're fighters, they don't even look like they have much in the way of cargo. So you might be able to hold more cargo in a smaller ship. So,
will Fancy's hero be able to hold as much cargo as this ship?
Actually, One very good comparison they made was in the Calico Hero. You can put an extra small ship, so you can put an X4 or Opal jet in the cargo hold of the Hero.
Well, that makes sense if you look at the size of the guy there at the walkway. Putting him on an X4 makes complete sense inside that cargo bay.
So that was an interesting comment that was up there about it being expensive. And we did hear on the town hall about some people from Brazil talking about, they're wanting to get their DAOs together so they can pool resources because, these ships, especially if you're in a developing country, can really be a high price point. I think what would these come down to 3,800, which is actually less than what I paid for it. So what I paid for it at open sale, you can actually, I think I paid $42.75 or something like that. So you can get it for less now, but still that is a large chunk of change. But compared to what, I guess, I mean, as we were talking internally about, the jackets, I think Fancy said he paid more for an NFT jacket than he's ever paid for a real world jacket. So, but it's the idea.
It's natural.
The idea here is that you're going to get some return on it, and that ship that you got is probably going to produce an equivalent return. So that's the reason why it may not be as expensive as it's relative to what you think the value is.
And that's what was mentioned by Wagner himself multiple occasions. So we're going off of that.
Yeah, so one thing to note is that I'm not sure if fighter vehicles, like at least the small ones, are going to be able to warp, and that may be like the main advantage of getting a racer. But another thing related to that is what size is going to be able to like re-enter orbit, or are they going to have to like forever live out in space? Because if they like try to enter, they would just be crushed by their own weight or whatever. Like, because
we've seen a lot of. Oh, go ahead, man.
Yeah, I don't imagine like a Titan class ship will be able to like dock on a planet or something like that. That'd be quite ridiculous.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of pictures with ships down in terrestrial orbit, but it's usually the smaller ones. To your point, it's the X5s, the X4, some of the racers. I don't know that we've seen. Well, we've seen a pack light, right? Let's just actually pull that up. Yeah. This to me looks terrestrial, right? So we know the ET ship here. We know that it will be terrestrial to some degree, but I think once you get into the large, I think you're right. I think we're going to miss out on some ships being in those terrestrial orbits.
Calico might be like one of the last to get in because it's multi-role. That might allow it to like have a vertical takeoff and landing, which would make things like that easier. But apart from like maybe the massive transport as well, because you'd need to like stock up. But it would be interesting if you needed to like load it up into space in a separate vehicle onto the main ship. I think that'd be quite interesting gameplay.
Yeah, I think all the medium ships are probably going to be the last or the biggest ships that can enter the atmosphere. Like you're correct, because it does say in the Calico Guardian, if you want, it fits. The Hero fits nicely in the storage in the ship compartment, and it's the ship that you would use to for away missions.
Nice.
So
I
think
let's look at some other.
But
yeah, I think it's kind of a given, at least medium, and because we see a lot of graphics with the medium ships on the ground, right? We've seen Visas O-Pods on the ground. I don't think we've seen anything bigger than a Visas O-Pod in an Earth shot or a planet shot. And just kind of going through some of the ships as a comparison. So this is a ship that I bought, and it's a ship that's far bigger than I thought it really was. When I start to look at the size comparisons to other ships, I think this is going to be a pretty big size ship. And we saw a weird angle of one of these in a previous release, and everyone thought it was a different ship, but it was confirmed it was an O-Pod. It looked far wider than I think we assumed this ship would be. What's
market price on this now?
22.
That's 22. Yeah.
I'll double check right now.
I think that of all of the ships, if you're one that you could really be happy with, if you really wanted to dig into this game, you were, I don't even want to say in a budget because this is even out of the budget for a lot of people, but this ship is a fantastic ship. And if I only had this ship in the game, I think there's still a tremendous amount that you could do and do well. This is a great ship.
Yep.
And then just
I
to
agree.
jump off of the price, it is currently the lowest current price right now is $2,088.
Wow. Okay.
Cheaper
And
than
I
I
bel-
got it. And then to answer Summer Solstice's question here on the screen, what does data runner mean? There is an opportunity for some people to take on a profession to take this ship and go out into uncharted space, gather data on, either other planets or resources, maybe asteroid belts, maybe gas clouds, and sell that data to other players or maybe guilds and take a profit. So the idea is this metaverse is going to be so big that you need explorers out there finding this stuff for you. So that's Data Runner, and as we know it right now, but it sure is a sexy ship. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah. One other thing I would like to add: it doesn't have to necessarily be exploration. It could also be you could also be spying on other guilds and then selling that information to competitive guilds as well. So it's not only just exploration.
Even just the locations of materials, like if there was a small battle and everyone died and nobody knows where it is anymore, if you find that piece of material, you could just tell someone with like a scrapping ship. Or if you have a data runner and you find a material that is super rare, you could just pin that on the map and then trade it off to the highest bidder.
Yeah, I could imagine that if you didn't have a data runner and you're out there and you come across some rare floating debris from a battle or just mineral deposits on a planet in particular, you wouldn't be able to send those coordinates back, I guess. Or maybe you would if you just wrote it down and then saved it for later when you got back and shared it with your guild mates. But if anything, I'm thinking you could put an actual marker on the map somewhere, or you would have a map on the ship itself, obviously, and then you could just make coordinates and send yourself over there to scoop up if you didn't have any capacity to do so.
I could see a value having a fleet of these for a guild, and basically, one of them patrols a particular area. So basically what you're doing is you're pushing all this data back, and it's like a grid. So you have a collection of them that's at any given time, kind of like, when we see in movies for like, do we have a satellite over that area? Where you can get data and information. So a big network of these would probably be pretty outstanding throughout a zone, a faction, or whatever grid space that would be.
Yeah, I think these are also going to be key in any fleets. When you start to see the fleet on fleet combat, these are the ships that are going to kind of keep you from getting ambushed, hopefully, if you're playing it right. There's going to be a strategic component to these ships as well. So why don't we jump into some of the large ships?
Yeah.
We know we have. Let's get the real world references out of there. So Guardians of the Galaxy, I think most people know what that is. This is the Milano. Next ship is probably my favorite of all times, and didn't get enough screen time. But the Serenity from the show Firefly,
great show,
and awesome show. And if you don't recall, this ship had the ability to dock other ships over its wings. So what you see in this show when you watch it, some of those are ships that are attached to the ship. But if you look down at the bottom there, you've got a little, looks like armored personnel carrier.
Is that the one from Aliens?
No, this is the one from Firefly.
No, the little arm. Oh, okay, never mind. The armored car. I was thinking about the armored car.
Oh, God, I see what you're saying. Which, if you think about some of the large ships we have, and let me just go through a couple more of these real world examples. So the International Space Station is 100 meters long. And it's one of those things it's more like solar panels and things like that. But from a sense of scale, 100 meters is big.
Yeah.
And I know we have some.
Yeah, roughly a football field, a little bit longer there. Yeah.
Yeah. And I know we have a couple of, I shouldn't say how many we have. We have a handful of these within the guild, but this is a pretty hot ship. I think a lot of people are going to underestimate just the coolness factor of this ship. If they don't sell this ship again, I think this is going to carry a lot of legs just cosmetically from a resale value.
Not to mention, I love their thing where it's just like kill your enemy in luxury.
But when I look at this ship, it's almost like when you look at it, it doesn't really look like it's equipped for comfort. I don't picture like a crew just having luxury time on there. It almost looks to me like this is set for destruction. When we get in this thing, we're about to go do some damage. Just by looking at the design and the scale of it, even though these things are big, they're huge. So it's an interesting design, and I'm wondering if that design is supposed to lend towards maneuverability.
Right. Yeah, I think they remind me of piranhas. They hunt in packs. They're very dangerous. They'll eat you up quick, and then they're hard to hit because they're so sleek and aerodynamic, although they're in space.
And they almost give a look that looks like they might modify themselves for a different type of flight. Like if it's flying through warp, it might pull itself back into a tighter ball. And then this is kind of the attack mode. I'm spitballing here, but that's the sense I get from it.
The Man of War space jellyfish.
And did we decide that these are pushing energy weapons rather than projectiles? Is that kind of what we think here, maybe?
I'm assuming because I believe this is an Oni style ship. So I wouldn't be surprised if it would be energy based.
Yeah, well, you can see on this picture, the one on the left is shooting a laser type thing, and the one at the top with the Skycatcher skin, I believe it's called, because they're two, like the one from the poster awards. That one looks like it's shooting bullets because it's not continuous. So perhaps there's a choice. I imagine there would be like a whole arsenal of things you would be able to choose from on there.
Different modules you could probably swap in and out.
Yeah, and we need to consider the fact that this is an artist's concept drawing as well, right?
That's
there could be some embellishment here just to make it look like there's action going on.
Yeah, so the way I would imagine this is it goes along the spine, and that's where like the crew quarters are. There's like a massive corridor, and then you get to the head, and it sprouts off onto each direction, and that's where all like the shooting stuff is, and might be a bit of protection behind that for hull space, but it doesn't look like it has much of it.
I think we pulled it out of because we ran out of space, but there was an interior shot of this ship that doesn't look. It looks completely biological and foreign. So, I think when you think about the size of these ships, it's easy to say there might not be a lot of crew space in this, but I mean it's 100 long. It's at least 100 high. There's probably a lot of space inside that we just can't visualize from this angle.
And being that it is an alien build, it makes you kind of wonder, okay, so what is the functionality of these interesting organic-looking edges or that tail? Because it's not a rudder, because you don't have that resistance in space unless it's the advantages are within an atmosphere. So it's just a really interesting build that's really hard to tell at this point what the advantages of the design are.
Yeah. Well, next we get into the capital ships, and that's when we start getting into the Guardian land. Let me just get down to the right ships here to kind of pull some real-world examples here because we have a number of them. I think the one that's most recognizable and really kind of put me in the back of my chair on how big a Guardian really is when I saw this.
Yeah.
Wow.
And that's smaller.
Yeah, if you look at the Calico, this one is quite slim. Like the disc, it doesn't have a lot of surface area, but the Calico Guardian is really bulky in comparison, really.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, this is what we all grew up on, most of us, right? This is our first venture for many of us. This is Star Wars into kind of space fantasy. And when even to this day, when I look at it, I have an idea that this ship is a huge ship, right? Many levels, many decks. And when you think about that in relation to the Calico, and if I think about how many people worked on the Enterprise, even if you're looking at like the OG one, there was a lot of people, and you're going to need that many people working on your Calico as well. So, it's fortunate that everyone's ships come with a generic crew, because that could get pretty expensive.
Yep.
So that'll be an interesting time where we see a day where, just to see if you can pull it off, an entire ship like a Guardian actually has all real crew, just for one mission at least. I imagine it's probably not practical for each and every, but just to see one time where the entire crew is actually someone participating in operating that ship.
How well, we talked about the Brazilians earlier and how big of a force they're showing up in Star Atlas. How cool would it be for a town or a village or whatever of Brazilians to buy a Guardian and the whole village is crewing it? I mean, that would be awesome, in my opinion.
Yeah, imagine somebody running for office. I'm gonna buy a Calico Guardian.
And the real
I'm going to
guy,
put you all. That's awesome.
the guy's real world job, he's the engineer. I'm going to engineer on a virtual ship.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. I truly hope we get there. I think Wagner has aspirations to get people there. But just the idea of being able to, even if it was like your high school alumni or your college alumni, or maybe it was a platoon you were in the military, all on the same ship working together, kind of carrying on that camaraderie, I think would be awesome.
What's
So another
fascinating?
example. Oh, go ahead.
Before you leave that, just one of the things that I think is pretty fascinating thought is imagine that you do get a crew that is that skilled working together. The correlation we have today are drone operators. There's some really good drone operators that can fly a drone, do what it needs to do. But imagine there's a day where we go from virtual space to actual real space, and we actually send a ship that's a full ship, that's a drone, but people are operating it. A whole crew of people are doing the different functions to operate that in real space as a drone because they have the experience of operating in a virtual space like this. Who knows what it will translate to later?
And we kind of see that with NASA, right? We've got the people who run the rover on Mars. I'm sure it's more than a one-man operation, where you won't need NASA to do that. You'll have these people who have been building this skill within games. There was a movie, I'm going to date Jesse and I, but in our youth, that where some kid was playing a video game, and that's how he got selected to be like the best starfighter. Matter of fact, that might even been what it was called, Last Starfighter or something like that. But it could translate into Metaverse, into real space. I think that's a novel idea.
Ender's Game.
Was that what it was?
Yep.
No, I think it was the Last Starfighter, wasn't it?
No, Ender's
it
Game is
doesn't
this
matter.
kid. Ender, yeah, it's Ender's.
Yeah, I'll take your word for it. We have, Ultra's been on a boat, aircraft carrier before, I'm pretty sure. And some of us have probably toured them. But if you think about the Guardian in relation to an aircraft carrier, that's nuts. It just blows me away at how big that ship is. And I've gotten to kind of roam around on one, and you can get lost in them. So the idea that you could get lost in a Calico Guardian if you didn't know your way around is awesome to me. So
I'll give you an example. The Calico Guardian holds, was it 300 people, 300 people, somewhere around there?
200 crew?
Yeah, this is this one, but look at the configuration, is a super carrier, can hold 5,000 people.
That's insane.
Wow.
That's crazy. Crazy. Okay, and then another ship that we all know from our time with movies is from the Nostromo from Alien, which was a ship that was so big, they could hide from the alien on the ship, right? There was, access tunnels that were ways to get around the ship. And
it took place on this ship.
yeah, that's a good point. Very good point. And it felt huge, right? I mean, the size of the ship felt huge. And this picture doesn't even have a human for scale here, but I mean, when you look at a person next to this ship, I think the cockpit is right up at the front. It's a huge ship, right?
Wow.
And again, we know we have some Calicos in the guild, but here we go. So all those ships are this big, or this ship is as big as those ships, which just blows me away.
It is just a straight up sexy ship. I could even see if there was going to be a new space show where humans from Earth were going to go out and explore somewhere. This is a ship I could see them. This would be a sexy ship to show up in. Yeah.
Great job.
Funny you say that. Yeah, good job. But with the Unreal Engine coming and the assets being built towards that, that's right next to TV and movie level quality for rendering. So it wouldn't be too hard to take the assets and pull them into with some green screens into an actual show. I wouldn't be surprised if there aren't some fan-made shows that are done the same way.
And the fact that they've just a little bit of details that we've gotten from this ship, as you can see here, that we covered this on the last podcast here, where we talked about how many of these drones and what the size of these drones are. And it looks like from the other pictures we've seen that you can deploy these drones. They go to a planet like this here. They scope it out. It's a soft landing, so you should be able to get these things back. And you essentially have 40 of these on your ship. So you're really being able to cover some distance, check out each planet without deploying your actual crew there. It's pretty amazing what you're able to do. But they also have hydroponics. Basically, you can have a crew that lives on this ship and explores. They even have like a 2-tiered theater room where you can stream live stuff. So it's going to be fascinating to see what else they built into this living quarters in the ship as a whole, because it sounds like a lot of thought has been put into it.
You bring up a good point about the idea that it's a self-sustaining ship. So if it is self-sustaining, do you have to provide all the resources and then there's resources just kind of recycle within the ship and you never have to buy anything? Or are you going to have to go out and actually buy additional raw materials? Because it's what it sounds like based on what you just shared is that all you need is your crew and your ship. And once you've got that, it's now takes care of itself, short of fuel.
And probably some maintenance. And then hopefully that can be done within the ship itself, whether that's your Tigu for doing repair or repair crew or any of the buffs and things you get from a jacket or not whatnot. But it does sound like that these are decked out to be able to just, you're forever exploring.
Yep.
The one thing that's interesting about this ship, though, is I'm comparing it to an Enterprise bridge, right? The bridge seems kind of lacking, if you will, maybe just because it only has room for like 5 seats. I would expect on a ship like this, the bridge would be like 10 to 12 people working. And again, these are work in progress, so we might see otherwise. But
how many do we see?
It just feels like there should be more.
Crew? Next generation, how many are on the bridge there? Like 8, maybe?
No, it's more.
8?
Is it more?
Yeah, it's more because you have two navigation, 1 driving. You have a couple at tactical. You have a few that do sensors and all that. So I would say about 16 to 20.
Okay.
Yeah.
It depends, but it also depends on the ship.
Right. And again, it is, this is all a make-believe world, right? So it does. I guess it really doesn't matter. I would just expect with some of these other big ships we see in different space shows that the bridge is bigger. Like even some of the Star Wars bridges seem like they might be a little bit bigger, with the exception of like the Millennium Falcon.
Well, on this ship, we do know that there are 2 navigation kind of cartography type bays, and they're separate from the bridge. So maybe that's one of the ways they've broken it up a little bit, because they have them in different areas.
Very good point. Yeah, that's a sharp looking ship. So what ships are you? I think that's kind of where we're at. I don't think we have any more ship sizes. We've gone through all the ships that have been released. But if we think about the ships that are coming, maybe the C9s and the C11s, what do you think those are compared to? I mean, without having the ships in front of us or the real world of the other IP ships, but these things they're huge, right? They've got to be bigger than a battleship.
So if we think in terms of the Titan class ships, which are the anomalies, those Titan ships are going to be 5,000-ish meters. And if you want to,
sorry,
what was that?
3,000 to 5,000. The motherships are over 5,000.
Yes, so 3,000 to 5,000. So if you want a really good comparison for what that size would be, the Borg cube was 3,300 meters.
Yeah,
so
crazy.
That, considering that, if that's where they start there, then I mean, what do we think? Have they mentioned what a C11 is going to be? I'm guessing what, 1,000 meters.
I think that's appropriate.
So like
yeah,
3 times, a little bit more than 3 times that of a Guardian. Oh,
I think that's fair. Yeah,
that's a beast.
And
that's a beast of a ship.
Yeah, just think about the repair costs. Like, take that out into medium space and have it get taken down to its, base damage, like it's totally destroyed. What is the repair costs on a capital ship going to be? Even a Guardian, what's the repair costs on a Guardian going to be?
Yeah,
from a resource perspective.
I think you just scrap it, recycle, and just buy a new one or build a new one.
Well, when we think in terms of now of where you're going to live, let's say that you are someone that wants to play the game, and you're going to you be a miner. Does that mean that your mining quarters, you live on the actual mine, or the crew quarters at the actual mine? Or are you going to be a space explorer? You're going to be one of the 200 crew permanently that lives aboard a Guardian. So that means that a guild, you could actually have a guild in the thousands and still have a place for everyone on your ships if you've got that many ships in your arsenal.
Yeah.
Pretty fascinating.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm thinking, except for the Visas OPOD, there's not going to be much traveling, other than the data running, because everyone's going to be focused on building out what they have with the mining rigs and things that they bought or earned from rewards. When we're able to use those, and even with land, you're going to want to build out your land. You want to do things on your land. So traveling, and unless you're a bounty hunter, then you don't care about. You don't have any of those things. You're just going to be out there looking for maybe no one, or you'll just be hunting down data runners. Just a speculation.
So based on what you just said there, this still is an open loop in my head. We know that there's a ship that is dedicated to the class of bounty hunting. What do we think that means? Like, what does that ship do differently than other ships so that it's classified specifically as a bounty hunter?
In my mind, all at once. Yeah, in my mind, it's like Slave One. It's got some attack capability. It's got some cargo capability, probably some stealth capability, something that can get you in and out quickly. I think the interesting thing is, are the bounties going to be on ships, or are the bounties going to be on people? And I hope it's people in the long run, because that's more what we grew up with and what we've seen. But at the same time, I think it's going to be a PvPer's dream to have that ship.
Well, an interesting consideration about it is that maybe if it's a ship that is known as bounty hunting, maybe you can get across borders easier because it's kind of like you're just waving a badge. But at the same time, that means like, hey, dude, there's a bounty hunter. Anyone that's got a bounty on him, just beware. There's a bounty hunter in space right now.
Right. You can just pull up the job, acquire it as their own mission, and just, hey, you're right here. I'll just take care of you.
Yeah, it does make me
I look
wonder
forward
how
to
many would be needed to take down like a data runner, like you said. So if it costs 300 USD, for example, would it need at least 4 or 5 bounty hunters to take down one? Or if you priced it higher, would I think it'd be nice to be able to like go one-on-one occasionally, especially if it's a data runner and has no like obvious means of defense apart from running away and stealth.
Yeah, I think without the upgrade of different modules and its output, I think the stock ships and what they're equipped with, it might be just that, where you'll be competitive on some level, just one-on-one, but there's going to be benefits to each ship that prevent you from just dying within a minute of getting fired at by a bounty hunter. It would take some work, because the job of a bounty hunter is not 1, 2, 3, pew pew, and then you get the bounty, you bring it back, and you collect. You're going to have to put in some work there.
Well, I see it
going down
down
to like get your teeth into a ship with like a extra small, I believe it is, the Visa Samboy, just the Visa Sopod in this example again. It would be I'd prefer to be able to like get my teeth into someone I find with one ship than having to team up with 4 or 5.
Yeah, I think it's going to go down a couple different paths potentially. Yeah. So, first off, we need to think about what would create a bounty. Is it something that players can just pay to create, or is it based on your actions in the game? Like, is there if you kill somebody indiscriminately, does that automatically create a bounty for you that a bounty hunter can go after, and it kind of creates a bounty hunter loop? And then does that mean that you can find that person on a space station while they're docked, right? So you put you dock your ship, and maybe you go and roam the space station looking for this person. And to me, that carries way more like cool factor. Like, you see this bounty hunter walking through a space station, and you're the guy he's going after, and how do you get away from the bounty hunter before he catches you? I see more value there than I do killing another ship in space.
Yeah. Well, we know you've got free zone. You've got the mid-tier zone where there is some PvP, but without the casualty where your NFTs don't burn. Mm-hmm. And we also have been told that there are going to be like some Pierce Cup vehicles. So there's going to be some means of which where you can, in that mid-tier zone, have some resource that shows up in the event that someone is violating something. So is that the zone? Because in deep space, it's kind of like no man's land. So perhaps bounties mostly will be issued from the zone where someone violates something in that mid-tier zone, and therefore the environment is the one that issues these bounties that then a bounty hunter can go out and try and find that person.
That's interesting. On that note, I think bounty hunter ships might have a greater capacity for fuel because they're going to be traveling more often. So that's one thing. And then my other point was going off of what you just mentioned, how if you did commit a crime in the first zone and now you have a bounty that's automatically put on you for attacking the police, automatons or robbing someone, or I don't think you'd be able to do that. But in any event, now you're traveling outwards into second or third zone, and you have a better ship than the bounty hunter does. And the rewards are way better, but now you have to team up with different. How far until you need to team up and have your own guild of bounty hunters before you're gonna be able to bring that guy back in to reap the rewards of a successful capture.
Just because it showed up in the ship brochure with the small ship, I have a feeling the first bounty hunting missions we're going to see are NPC. It's going to be like you go to an NPC, get the quest, and you get a ship mission to go do a bounty mission against some pirates or something like that. But I hope it expands way bigger than that, because all of us have dreams of being Boba Fett at some point in our life, right?
Yeah. And then at some point too, you're probably like, oh man, I've got a bounty. Let me just pay this fine. I'm tired of being hunted down.
I'm done running.
Going to catch me, but it's just annoying that he's following me everywhere.
Right.
I'm thinking there also could be a bounty board as well, where you don't have to do anything. You just piss someone off. You're like, you know what? I'm going to pay you 10,000 atlas if you can get this guy for me.
Yeah.
So is it time to announce that we're taking 5% of our guild funds and putting it into bounties indiscriminately? Is that what we're doing? Fly through our space, bounty. Talk bad about us on Discord, bounty.
No more bans. It's bounties now.
Yeah, bounties. All right, gentlemen. Well, I think we've gotten through all the ships. Is there anything else we want to discuss before we close it out? What I can share to those listening is we will continue to talk about Star Atlas going forward. We do have some potential guests discussing other metaverses coming up in the future, things that may have not been launched yet or are just launching. But just to reaffirm what I said at the beginning of the video, we are largely a guild that is 100% focused on Star Atlas. However, each one of us as Metaverse Nomads has other play-to-earn games that we're interested in. We're interested in the space. So, we've got people approaching us to want to talk about their projects. You may see some of that going forward. But you can always be sure that we will be talking about the games we play, and right now that's really Star Atlas. So before I close it out, any last thoughts from anybody on the team?
Go ahead, Fancy.
Yeah, there was one more picture that I did find this week. It was posted in the chat.
Oh, I love that picture.
Yes. So this is fascinating. And so when I first saw this image, it reminded me that, and I don't recall where I saw it, but at some point there was a developer sketch released of a space station that was supposed to be someplace where I'm assuming it was Oni Creation, where there was a lot of modules and that were a part of this space station that we were supposed to get pretty excited about. In other words, they put some thought and effort into this being a cool place to visit. So I think this is associated with that. And I don't remember where I saw the sketches. They were in that gray kind of sketch form, but there was somewhere a space station that kind of had an organic flow to it, and this was probably a part of it.
It's funny you bring that up. I originally thought this would probably be the inside of some mothership, but I'm wondering if this is the inside of a space station, kind of a museum, if you will, or maybe something like that, where it helps build morale. Maybe it's they talk about the professors in the schools. Maybe this is where you go to learn.
Yeah,
maybe. Yeah, I'm thinking because you'll be able to get out of your ships that, like it was mentioned by Wagner, and I think Danny, they did mention you would be able to land on planets and get out of them to explore. So I'm wondering if there's going to be planets that are developed to the point where you see these types of environments on the actual planet and not just on space stations. So that would be pretty interesting.
Yeah.
come across.
If
one
they
of those.
get to that point, this is a game that can't be stopped. If you're giving somebody a terrestrial experience like this plus a space experience all under play to earn, I just don't see anybody beating this. In my opinion.
Well, I think that's the beauty of it is that it can expand that way. When we look at games like World of Warcraft, their model is trying to keep releasing an expansion so that people have new things to discover. Well, if you're starting out with space, which is endless, then it's pretty
Infinite
easy
expansion.
to continue to have these worlds that you visit. And how cool is that? To just, you hear about it from someone. Did you hear about this new planet? And then like the things that the development team is very keen on doing is having things like a mansion on this particular planet where there's a pretty cool party that you show up to. And of course, you got to have a ship because how else are you going to get there? And maybe that's a mode of earning in the game is that you're just the guy that transports people. So the ideas of what can be experienced are endless. And so this is just the opening phase of what's to come. It's pretty exciting.
Yeah. Expanding outward and inward, right? I mean, because you can get smaller and smaller and smaller. There we go. Look at that. We got a Silstar, our resident guild artist, gave Jesse the position today of being drawn. So now we've done myself. We've had Fancy. We've got Jesse.
I think I was drawn last week. I think. Yeah, I was.
Hey,
Yeah.
hey, got those there too.
Yeah,
And Gato. We got Gato.
Nice.
That's awesome.
Awesome.
Very good. Those may show up as an NFT at some point, right?
That's right.
So that said, any last comments, Fancy, Ray, Jesse, or Ultra?
Yeah.
You can go first, Ray.
Okay. On the note of the art, thank you guys. We love to how the community just reaches out or shows their talents in the Rome Discord. So last week we created a art channel and also a meme channel separately. But if you do have any talents, and you want to show them off, whether they're Rome related artwork or your own personal projects, definitely throw it up in the art channel. Or the projects channel if you're working on a particular project. We love to see what's going on and what you guys are taking part in building yourselves and how we can probably work together on some level. And on that note, I will be sharing with the guild and tagging everyone who's interested who have that artist specialty talent with them, the silhouettes that we were working on of each of us and the characters that I guess we envision ourselves in to be our avatars. And so if you want to check that out and see what those look like. So they aren't vectorized, so just a heads up, but it is a high def quality. So I guess it would take a longer period of time zooming in before you see the pixels. But on that note, it'll be there. And if you guys wanted to take part, we can do a little giveaway of some sort, and that'll be announced. But you could definitely check out the channel and see what I was talking about when you have time. And if you want to join the guild, there's a little slide bar on the bottom of the screen here, or you can just simply visit Rome. You could type in Rome, and we'll have the link in the comment section or in the description of this video. And you could definitely join up and see what we're all about by filling out the application if you're interested in joining Rome.
Very
Sweet.
good.
Yeah,
And Ultra, anything before we roll? And Fancy, go ahead, man.
On my part, there is a lot more to cover in Illuvium than it's possible to show on this podcast. They upload quite a lot of sketches and just animations. But if you should head over to their Discord if you're interested, because I can't do it justice properly. There's a lot of cool, interesting art over there that really piece it all together. And they're constantly adding new... Oh, wait. No, sorry. No, I can't find that one anyway. They're constantly adding new stuff. It's good to be there. Yeah.
And they also like to do live. They like to stream themselves live as they're creating it on the spot. So you can always join it. So those are actually pretty interesting to watch as well.
With some good music. So yeah, they actually add some good music to it. I go as far as to say that Illuvium is one of those projects where they actually are creating a lot more than they're boasting. They're actually doing a lot of stuff behind the scenes and sharing it within their community, but not doing these big, huge press releases. Look what we've done. They're just doing some really cool stuff and sharing it as they build it. So I like the project for that reason, for sure.
Fantastic. Well, on that note, goodbye to everyone for the week. We'll be back around next week. Internally, we're talking about some potential raffles coming up, so you might see some subscriber raffles for people who are interested in Star Atlas, and maybe you aren't interested and you're new to the world. Maybe you're here because of our ties to Gala and other games, where you can get your feet wet with some Star Atlas NFTs potentially by raffles. So continue to watch us weekly. Glad to have you here. Love to see the feedback in the comments in the section. Please like and subscribe. And everyone have a fantastic week.